Hey guys, welcome to this channel. My name is Price and I'm back with another video. I have my guest online and I'm going to be asking him questions. 7 questions. So we are not going to be wasting any time. We are going to be brief and to the point. Question number 1. What do you have to say about the demonstration that took place in Kenya and South Africa this week? And this is what our guest had to say.
This week, Kenya and South Africa had demonstrations, and these demonstrations have one thing in common. Both want their leaders out. South Africa wants Ramaphosa out, Kenya wants Ruto out of power. Though they are trying to use excuses of like high cost of living, because Ruto, when he was coming to power, he said things are going to reduce the commodities. South Africans are having so many grievances, the high cost of living, the problems with land distribution, and so many. But at the end of the day, these demonstrations have the same goal. They want the governments to be out of power as early as yesterday. But I don't think they achieved that objective because both presidents are still in power.
Question number 2. Are there any differences you saw in these protests?
The Kenyan protests were partially violent because we saw the violence that took place in Kisumu, then the violence in Nairobi. As of South African protests, they were peaceful the whole day. You would see that the approach was completely different because the Kenyans went into these demonstrations when they are ready for either the police or the army. So you see that for the South Africans, they actually expected to be having peaceful demonstrations because you realize that they're even having chats with these police guys who escorted them throughout their marches across the country. But as of Kenya, there are even some incidences, unfortunate instances of like robbery, burglary. Then some protesters were shot dead, which wasn't a good thing.
Number 3. As I told you, we are brief, no wasting time. We want to go direct to the point. So number 3. Why do you think there were differences in the demonstration styles? Demonstration styles. Why do you think there were differences?
The difference really is as a result of, I think, different cultures and backgrounds. You see, Kenya has got so much individualism. People believe in individuals, whether you are doing the right thing or the wrong thing. As long as you say something, people will follow you. And you know, there are people like Raila, who is a powerhouse in Kenya. So even if he says anything, especially the Rift Valley, there's a bigger portion of Kenyans who will follow whatever he says, whether it's right or wrong. As of South Africa, even if you see on Mandela's side, during those days of Mandela, he would talk and would talk as a nation. The same thing Julius Malema is doing. Whatever he's doing shows the love for the nation. They are doing something as a nation. But for Kenya, I think they are just following individuals, which some people might want to put emotions and think it's not right, but the truth is, it's right. Even if it's not Raila and someone else came, you would still do the same thing. But as of South Africa, I credit them for that. Whatever they are saying, whatever they are doing it as a nation. So the difference is, these ones are following individuals. They have individualistic approach because they believe in someone. But as of South Africa, they are doing it really. I think that shows you the difference. The Kenyans love individuals, South Africans love the country. So that would be really the main reason as to why whatever they did came out different.
Number 4. There are 7 questions. We are now on number 4. Number 4. What do you think were the outcomes of these demonstrations in both countries, that is Kenya and South Africa?
Loss of life, loss of property. We saw, especially Kenya, in Kisumu, they burned some cars. In Nairobi, some properties were affected because they threw stones towards them. Then, of course, there was also some bit of tear gas in Kenya. So, those are some bit of the negative outcomes or consequences of the demonstrations. Then when you go to South Africa, okay, both South Africa and Kenya, the economy definitely lost revenue. There are no businesses working like they used to. That day, especially Monday, was an unusual day for both countries. Businesses were on standstill, so the government never got anything in return, especially in revenue collection. And that is a very big negative impact that they might take a very long time to recover from. As of the positives, well, both sides were hurt, were seen by the whole world. So hopefully both governments can sit down with the protesters and look for a way forward. Because I think at the end of the day, whether the current governments in both countries stay in power or they go out, still there has to be a way of talking to the side which is not satisfied with whatever their governments are doing.
Number 5. What lessons do we learn from these demonstrations? Are there any lessons to learn, good or bad? And what lessons are they?
You can still demonstrate without violence. That is the major lesson that everyone should learn from these protests. It's not necessary to just protest and again destroy the little that you have. Yes, we know you have your grievances, we also do, but sometimes in Uganda we've also done some bit of funny demonstrations where people have lost lives, property is lost. So Uganda and Kenya have the same style, the same approach of demonstrations which turn violent. So Kenya and the other countries which are like Kenya, especially Uganda, because I'm Ugandan, the same things that happen in Kenya is what happens in Uganda. We need to learn a lesson from the South African demonstrations. We can still demonstrate, send a strong signal to whoever we are sending it to when we are peaceful. We lose nothing when we are peaceful. Because at the end of the day, violence will not lead anywhere. So let's pick a lesson from the South African demonstrations. We have no lesson to pick from Kenya, and especially Kenya being like Uganda, because we also do the same thing. We should also sit down and see whether it's worth it or to always have demonstrations which are violent and which lead to death, destruction of property. It's not worth it. Kenya is not worth it. Uganda, you're not demonstrating currently, but it's not worth it. When you demonstrate, please avoid disruptions, avoid blood, killing people, avoid stealing people's properties. Those are not good things. Learn something from the South Africans. Demonstrate peaceful. People will still see you. Your message will still be delivered.
Number 6. What advice would you give to these two countries? What advice do you give to these two countries, Kenya and South Africa?
The advice I would give to the Kenyan government, I would give it first to the current president, who is Ruto, to please, however much he may be dissatisfied with these demonstrations that are happening, he should be a statesman. He should be an individual with wisdom, use the right government arms, use the right government agencies to make sure that there is no crashes with whoever is demonstrating. Try as much as possible to preserve life. Life is most important than even all these things people are running for, money, power. Life has to be preserved. Ruto is the current president of Kenya. Should make sure he does the right thing to make sure there is no loss of property and loss of life. As to Odinga, Mzee Odinga, the advice I would give him is, yes, he might be dissatisfied with whatever happened, whatever outcome in the elections, might be dissatisfied with the economy, the commodities are high, yes, but at the end of the day, I think even if he's to demonstrate, he should make sure he has control over the demonstrators, because demonstrators listen to him. People in Kenya listen to what Raila says. So these people should do what? Raila should make sure he's in charge, he's in control of his demonstrators. They are satisfied, let them show their satisfaction, but that satisfaction should not also not result into death or burglary. You know, it's not worth it. Be satisfied, do whatever you're supposed to do, but at the end of the day, there is life after demonstrations. So do the needful, and if I could advise both Raila and Ruto, I think you need a middle ground. Try as much as possible to see how best you can solve your grievances, whether you need third parties to sit you down and see how best you can move, because these demonstrations are not worth it. As of South Africa, I have nothing much. The only thing I can say, maybe the Ramaphosa government should sit down with the opposition and see a way forward.
And finally, do you have any final words you have for these two countries? Those are 7 questions. Do you have any final words?
My final word really goes to everyone, whether Kenya or South Africa. Is there any way you can solve your problems without demonstrating? If it is there, please take that route. The second, to everyone, countries have been there, you found them there, you still leave them there. So what legacy are you leaving behind? Do you want to be remembered because people died under you? Do you want to be remembered because the country developed as a result of your input? Let's leave out emotions in all these things. We have our countries, and our countries should come first. Our generations are here. Tomorrow or the other day there will be no more. We found other generations which have already gone, and some of these generations really have a very bad reputation. Do you want to follow the same? Like, if I may give a small example, like in Uganda, we had Minu's regime. We still think about him even if he's not there. So really, I don't think it's worth it. Our countries are there, whether we fight or not. We shall fight, we shall destroy whatever is there. We shall go at some point, we shall not be there. The other generations who will come will find and say, so and so led to this. I don't think it's a right thing. I don't think it's a positive thing. Let's do as much as possible to be remembered for good things other than the negatives. I know some people may not care, but me, I care, and whoever has sense should care. We should be looking at ourselves as just drivers to bring positive input, bring positive change towards our lives, also developing our countries. So let's look beyond these petty things. Try as much as possible to sit, dialogue, and get our way out of all this. That's all I can. Those are my last conclusions or my last inputs. As of now, we hope that either government will have a positive outcome that will impact positively on every citizen of their countries despite their political orientation.
Thank you so much for watching up to the end of this video. I hope this video has been informative and very helpful to you. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.